from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day, big crops get bigger, USDA releases its final yield data, and agribusiness. So what do the latest numbers mean?
We got ample supply of corn, we got ample supply of beans, and ample supply of wheat, and the markets are feeling heavy, if you will.
Machinery Pete says strength is returning to the equipment market, and urban farms helping feed New Orleans.
Ag Day, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We start a new week following the Friday release of several key grain reports from the Ag Department, and the market had a mostly muted response. The Ag Department releasing its annual recap of the 2017 crop production figures. USDA says the lack of extreme heat across the Corn Belt this past summer helped boost the nation's corn yield into record territory. The yield estimate tips the scale at 176.6 bushels to the acre for corn. That's 2 bushels higher than 2016. Now the corn crop comes in at 14.6 billion bushels. That's actually lower than the 2016 crop due to reduced acreage. Blue states on this map indicate bigger state yields than last year, including all of the southeast and eastern seaboard. Now in the Midwest, Illinois and Ohio hit new record corn yields.
On the corn side of things, the same situation that has been the case. Too much supply. Now we need to find a price that encourages more demand, and to do so you probably have to drop lower, and we saw new contract lows here to close out the week.
And USDA lowering soybean production in the annual summary, coming in at 4.3 billion bushels. The average soy yield just over 49 bushels to the acre, nearly 3 bushels below 2016. Despite the cut, USDA says it's still a record crop due to record planted acreage. As we can see, almost every state in the South had higher soy yields. In many cases, they set new records, but in the Midwest and Northern Plains, soy yields were lower. USDA also releasing its grain stocks report showing 12.5 billion bushels of corn in storage. That's 1% above year-ago levels. Soybeans totaling 3.1 billion bushels, up 9% from 2016. And all wheat in storage hitting 1.8 billion bushels. And it appears a small wheat crop is getting even smaller. USDA says planted winter wheat acres hit 32.6 million acres. That's a 1% drop from a year ago. The Ag Department says it is the second lowest wheat acreage on record. Hard red winter wheat totals about 23 million acres.
I think the hardest hit market was wheat, and that market will struggle now because winter wheat seedings came in bigger than anticipated and much bigger than anticipated in many cases. And as a result now, that market is left without much support moving forward.
Thanks, Brian. 2017 all cotton production is up 24% from 2016. It measures 21.3 million bales. The average yield 899 pounds per acre, 32 pounds above 2016. Acreage was also up. The report putting the brakes on last week's price rally that saw cotton futures climb above the $80 per hundred mark. In other news, be it a threat or intention, if President Donald Trump starts the withdrawal process from the North American Free Trade Agreement, Mexico says it will drop the trade pact. An official from Mexico saying this past week that if Trump announces a U.S. withdrawal from NAFTA, at that moment, negotiations stop. If Trump decides to leave NAFTA, he would trigger a 6-month process to withdraw from the agreement. Ag Canada reporting that Mexico remains firm on its position to get up and leave from the negotiating table if the president goes through with the move. Meanwhile, different strains of avian influenza were found over the holiday season globally, according to 2 global health agencies that say the number of human infections appears to have decreased over time. Meetingplace.com reporting that since December, the H5N6 strain of avian influenza has been reported in Hong Kong, the Netherlands, South Korea, Taiwan, in addition to H5N8 outbreaks in Italy and Russia. The World Organization for Animal Health says more than 32 million birds were lost or destroyed since its last report in September, and regional outbreaks including countries in Africa, Asia and the Pacific, and Europe. During the recent cold snap, the U.S. withdrew a record amount of natural gas from storage as people cranked up the heat. We saw low temperature records get shattered like ice across the eastern half of the United States. The Energy Information Administration says more natural gas was withdrawn from storage fields around the country than at any other point in history. Not only was demand affected by the cold, so was supply. The EIA says freezing temperatures led to freeze-offs in the Appalachian and Permian basins. Freeze-offs occur when water vapor in the natural gas stream freezes and blocks the flow of gas. Continuing to talk weather, Mike Hoffman joining us now to look at today's crop comments. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. Harvest may be over, but Brad Smith over in Selma, Alabama is sending us this picture, which includes cotton damaged and undamaged, all in one picture. Again, USDA says cotton acreage and production both increased from 2016. Taking a look at the estimated rain from last week, you can see spotty amounts of decent amounts, actually. Southern Mississippi Valley into the northeast, also some spots out west, but the heavier amounts were definitely throughout Louisiana, Alabama, into most of Mississippi and parts of Arkansas. Some of that area is under a drought, so that's some good news. We'll have details on your forecast for the coming week and the next 30 days coming up. First, here are some hometown temps.
Ever wake up wondering what does today's weather have in store? Well, with weather updates, it delivers the local forecast right to your cell phone each morning to make preparing for the day easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
December tractor sales seeing strength, and Machinery Pete says it was a surprisingly strong finish to 2017 when it comes to both equipment purchases and values. According to the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, tractor sales during the month of December were up 18% compared to the same time last year, and for the year, tractor sales were up 5% over 2016. AEM says smaller tractors that range from under 40 horsepower continue to be the bright spot in equipment sales, but larger tractors and combines saw an uptick during the second half of 2017. Now, Machinery Pete says search traffic on machinerypete.com and strong auction prices created a strong finish to the year.
So we mentioned strong auction pricing November and December. Exactly what we saw with search traffic. So for example, on large horsepower tractors over 200 horse, in the month of December we were up 67% in traffic to this category. And planters were up, I think, 125% in December. So a lot of people out there looking. I think they're looking for quality.
Machinery Pete says it's the quest for better technology helping to drive the interest in those newer planters. We'll take a deeper look at the latest USDA reports and what it means going forward. That's next at the Agribusiness Desk. Plus, Machinery Pete returns.
Stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we're going to talk about a red-hot price on an auction in Indiana last week.
And we'll visit urban gardens helping feed New Orleans today on In the Country. Markets reacting to Friday's reports. Let's get the close from the Ford and CMU Chicago.
Soybeans were up. The USDA reports did come out, and they told us there's a smaller than expected 2017 crop, and so that really gave the market a little bit of boost. But big supplies still loom, and they're weighing on the futures, and I think it's keeping a lid on any significant rally, even though we've had kind of a big break of the U.S. dollar index, and that gave the soybeans a little bit more of a boost to kind of push it higher. But I think that maybe our rally could be limited because of the size of the stocks that are out there. Corn, on the other hand, slipped a little bit. The final crop numbers were better than expected, so that's kind of had the opposite. If you got down there, there has been some minor buying that kind of like helped to stop the bearish sentiment of the market moving lower. Now, there was a relatively neutral report on the wheat market, and it kind of stirred some selling. The market had rallied so much that it was vulnerable to a correction, and with the plantings being up for 2018, there was nothing else to really hold the market up or any buyers to kind of keep support. So the market did have some double-digit losses. That's all from the floor at the CME Group. Here in Chicago, I'm Virginia McGathy.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, we have Brian Basting with Advanced Trading and Kevin Dooling, Katie Investors. All right, gentlemen, so the report came out last week. Some interesting parts of the report. And Brian, I'll start with you. What's your takeaway from the numbers that we saw from USDA?
The numbers, Clinton, are telling us we've got ample supply. And while that sounds simplistic, I think it re-underscored what we know is we got ample supply of corn, we got ample supply of beans, and ample supply of wheat, and the markets are feeling heavy, if you will, going forward. So I think the biggest thing short term we can look forward to now is South American weather. But in terms of what those reports confirmed is that we have ample supplies both domestically and worldwide of our crops right now.
Okay, and Kevin, your read on these numbers, and specifically, I guess the winter wheat plantings number continues to trend lower. Is that what you expected?
It is. It was a little higher than I expected, but just from talking to the group. But it's again, you're talking record low numbers are record low numbers. So it's
Right.
at the minimum amount. You're not going to see them drop much more regardless of what the price is. So
Okay.
That one I think was in the market, obviously by the reaction on Friday. And then so going forward, it's, what do we do with those numbers? Which ones do we pay attention to? Which ones do we not pay attention to so much from the historical standard? And, so going forward it's back to exports. Let's watch and see what we can sell, and that's what's going to drive us.
Yeah, and the export numbers kind of playing into our carryover numbers and some of our stocks there, Brian. Any chance we can fire those up as we travel into 2018?
The biggest thing that would change that environment, Clinton, would be a problem in South America. Today, however, we're looking at very strong competition in the bean market, and the way that this first half of the crop year has gone, even though the USDA lowered their bean export number in this report, that number still may be a bit too high. But things that would change that or fire it up would be definitely any problems with end of the growing season, first season corn in South America, or the double crop corn in Brazil. Double crop corn in Brazil won't be planted until the end of February, early March, so there's still some prospects.
Still some time there. Okay. And as we look at this global economy, we came out from the World Bank, said, this is one of the best global economies that we've seen in a decade. Any chance that helps some of this ag export picture?
I don't know if that'll help the export picture. I mean, the food demand's pretty, it's steady. It's a steady grind year in, year out. What might help is the fund position is so short.
Okay.
Grain, we could see, movement out of that position and follow crude oil, follow gold, and start, grains are the cheap one in the group as far as commodities go.
Right.
So I guess pay attention to the funny money.
All right. We'll keep an eye on it. Thank you both for being here and starting our week off. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
Ag Day, brought to you by Alivo Seed Treatment from Bayer. Protect your soybeans from SDS and nematodes this season.
Welcome back to Ag Day here on a Monday morning with meteorologist Mike Hoffman. As we look at the jet stream to plan our week ahead, what do we think?
Well, we're seeing the cold air coming back to the east. Obviously, it's already done that, and it has warmed up again out west. And that's because a week ago we were showing you a jet stream with more of a zonal flow west to east, bringing in Pacific air for most of the lower 48. Well, that's changed again. We have the big ridge out west all the way into western Canada, coming right off the Arctic Circle into the northern plains and most of the east. As you can see, this isn't going to last real long, but it's going to last a good chunk of the week. There's Wednesday, still the cold air pouring into the Great Lakes and the mid-Atlantic all the way down into Florida, but we start to see the Pacific air coming back in out west. We also see some storm systems coming into the western portions of the country, which will increase your moisture once again, which is good news overall, but obviously, like the last time this happened, we saw the mudslides in Southern California. Hopefully that doesn't happen this time around. There's later in the week and we go back to zonal again. It'll still kind of be below normal for the Great Lakes from the northeast by the end of the week, but it'll be getting back up there again. And as we go a little farther, you'll notice, well, guess what? There it is again. It almost looks like what I'm showing you right now. 1 week from today, actually 8 days away, we have the big trough coming back in from the models again and the big ridge out west. So that's the pattern for now. We're going to see these shots of cold air dominating most of the time east of the Rockies, but there will be times where it warms up. So temperatures this week will go below normal. Most of the plain states all the way through the east coast, except for the northeast. In fact, parts of Maine above normal on into eastern Canada. Above normal temperatures for the western end of Texas and most of the areas west of the Continental Divide, near normal elsewhere. As far as precipitation for the coming week, mainly below normal right through the middle of the country, but there is going to be a little system. We'll keep it near normal right there for the central plains. Not a lot of moisture there, but below normal northern plains and west Texas into southern New Mexico, above normal out west and above normal from northern Alabama all the way up through New England. As far as the 30-day outlook for temperatures is concerned, still mainly below normal for the eastern half of the country, above normal for the Four Corner region back into California, and 30-day outlook for precipitation below normal South Florida, South Texas, back through the southwest, above normal for the northern Rockies, northwest, and also Tennessee, Ohio Valley, and the Great Lakes. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. We head to Farmington, New Mexico. First of all, lots of sunshine and chilly, high of 48 degrees. Ironwood, Michigan, very cold with a little bit of snow, high temperature of just 9. And finally, Charlotte, North Carolina, a good deal of sunshine and on the chilly side, high 43.
When we come back, more evidence of strength in the equipment market from Machinery Pete. And later, the unique cuisine of New Orleans is being fed from urban gardens. Details on In the Country.
Ag Day, brought to you by Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers. They don't just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize it, so crops deliver the max in return. Learn more at maxinmaxout.com. Machinery Pete is brought to you by John Deere. Where can you find the most comprehensive inventory of John Deere certified pre-owned tractors, combines, and sprayers? Machinefinder.com. Sometimes the best new addition to your fleet isn't new.
Machinery Pete continues to see strength in the ag equipment market, and he has an example from his home office in Minnesota.
Well, quite a sale last Wednesday, folks, in Van Buren, Indiana, by my friends at Sullivan Auctioneers Farm Retirement Sale for Black Creek Farms. This 1999 John Deere 8400 tractor with 2,536 hours on it, sold for $100,000. Now, folks, that's the highest auction price on an 8400 I've seen in almost 6 years. And in fact, it's the third highest auction price ever in the U.S. on an 8400. Now, I posted a YouTube video of this tractor selling last Wednesday night. My friend Roger Eyrick was there and shot video. And you can imagine there was a lot of commentary on the video. One in particular, someone said, "What in the world, why are people paying that much money for a tractor almost 20 years old?" And I totally get it. We get this reaction every time we see a tractor like this. Now, what we need to do to understand this is pull back. And since the first week of November, what we've seen all across the country, very good condition, low-hour tractors, high horsepower, the auction prices have been up, even on the 1, 2, 3, 5-year-old models. But in particular on these older models like this 8400, almost 20 years old, when you see them with low hours like this, first or second owner, what that plays into is the fact that they're simpler, people have a positive history with them, they're hard to find with these low hours, and you can see the buying interest, it's evident, $100,000 on that 8400 last Wednesday.
All right, up next, we're headed for New Orleans, where urban gardens are helping feed visitors to this unique American city.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota. Tractors, hay tools, utility vehicles, mowers, and more. Visit Kubota.com today.
Many cities are seeing open spaces turn into urban farms. And in New Orleans, a city known for its food, urban gardens are providing some ingredients for special palates. LSU Ag Center's Craig Gautreaux has a story.
Urban farms are now filling areas that were once unused green spaces. These gardens are serving as a connection within communities and in many ways getting back to the roots of how we produced food.
We're getting back to the way we used to grow food in backyard gardens, street corner lots. So we're getting back to market gardening, community gardens, and various aspects of commercial agriculture in the city.
While being a social and environmental component for their communities, the gardens can be an economic boost as well.
The money that's generated here, it stays in the community. And we're supporting local businesses. These farmers are business people. And so we're supporting local businesses, farm families, and the fabric of our cities.
A common theme among the 4 urban farms visited was getting children in the community involved in gardening. Many participants mentioned that the gardens can serve as a teaching tool.
Gardening is such a good way to incorporate so many types of learning. Biology, math, any of your sciences, even English.
Elliot Robinson is the garden manager for Press Street Gardens. The garden serves as a school garden for the nearby New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts, and he saw the need to be a stop on the tour.
I think it's really critical to network with farmers, educators, and institutions that promote agriculture in Louisiana.
A key component heard throughout the tour was members of the community must be involved for the gardens to be successful. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gautreaux reporting.
All right, thanks, Craig. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Started your day with us. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great week in farm country.
Ag Day, brought to you by Ram Commercial, America's longest-lasting heavy-duty pickups.